I am Ray, and don't worry about the suffering of the world. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to watch the news, and you're going to get freaked out, and you're going to feel sad. Because as human beings, we don't like to see others suffer. So what I'm saying is don't think about it. Don't think about it. Why? Why do this? What does 1 minute of anxiousness add to your life? How does worrying about something do anything to solve the problem? So, logically, it doesn't make sense to worry about the suffering of the world. The problem is our heart, is the emotion. Emotionally, we want to save everybody, make the world a better place. And so you might ask, well, what do we do then, huh? Just ignore all the suffering? Ignore all the pain? This is the problem with you spiritual gurus, always ignoring the truth. You want some truth? You can't handle the truth. Or maybe you can. You see, the fact is that the universe is perfectly balanced between negativity and positivity. They're just two opposites of the same one thing. So they're equal in value, opposite in degree. And so because the universe has equally both, there is always an infinite abundance of suffering in the universe. And that's the hell realms. And everyone who's trapped there. And there's also, you guessed it, some heaven. Herein, there's also an infinite abundance of good things, of love, of joy, of peace going on all the time. But which one do you hear of more often? They're both equal, logically speaking. But think about, the average person on the street, what they say. You ask them, is the world getting better or is it getting worse? And they will say, it's getting worse. It's going down the toilet. Look at all of these bad things that are happening. But if you don't understand your own animalistic bias, you won't understand how you're being manipulated and controlled and influenced. Because human beings biologically are hardwired to focus on negativity as a survival mechanism. So, no matter what, your attention will always be naturally and more easily focused in negative directions. And because we focus on this, it appears to be true. It appears to be more real, but it's not true. Both are equally true. There is good and bad in all things. And because we live from this limited human perspective, we're hardwired to focus on the negative. We just don't see the good. And I hate to break it to you. And don't get too nihilistic on me. But it doesn't matter what happens. Because the universe is always seeking equilibrium. No matter how bad it gets, it will always get better. And no matter how good it gets, it can always get worse. It will always return to balance. The pendulum swinging back and forth. The universe is an equilibrium seeking machine. So anything that creates imbalance, life will course correct and balance itself out. And here you might question, well then what's the point of doing anything? If life is always balanced, if we can't fundamentally change anything, you try and do your best, you live a good life, you try to make a difference in the world, you be the change you want to see in the world, in attempts to make the world a better place. What does it matter if, 1,000 years from now we go into a dark age and everyone dies? What was our purpose on this planet then? And this is what troubles a lot of people. Because on one end you can just say, oh well then nothing matters, so I can do whatever I want. Because no matter how much evil you do, things will return to balance. And no matter how good you do, things will return to balance. But people who think like this, they're missing the whole point. The whole point of life. One kind of idea I like to think about is that God views us through a microscope. And we try to view God through the telescope. Meaning, human beings are fundamentally focused out there. Time. We do things for a purpose. For instance, I want to leave a legacy for my family and for future generations. I want to be known in the world. Famous. I want to be the best. But there's a fundamental problem in being attached to these kinds of ideas. Because, again, 200 years from now, our existence will be erased as if we never existed at all. But the point is not some end result. It's your experience on the journey that matters. Hence, God looking at us through a microscope. Every movement, every experience is in itself the purpose, and not necessarily the quality of one's life. And so in this grand game, from the highest perspective, there is nothing wrong. Life is perfect, even with all the evil and the darkness and the misery. And it is our judgment as human animals that causes us to get stuck, well, in duality, good and evil, right and wrong. And it is because we judge life and are unaware of its perfection. That is why we suffer. Because when you judge something as wrong, as should not be happening, you enter into resistance. And that resistance creates suffering. I really don't want this to be happening. Whether it's happening to you, whether it's happening in the world, or happening to other people. And so we get angry, and we get frustrated. Now, anger's not bad, but the question is, are you productive about it? Is it useful? Because when I say, don't worry about the suffering of the world, the reason I say this is because most people are not doing anything about the problem. They're just wallowing in their own suffering for no reason. And oftentimes it is because we like to pretend that we are better than we are. We want other people to know that, oh, we're a concerned citizen, that we're a good person, that we care. And it is a sick game because it's happening underneath the surface and we don't even realize it. We worry about others often, not out of genuine love, but so that we can feel like we are a good person. It's like giving money to homeless people. There's a way in which you can hand over the money, in which you look down at them and label them as a victim. And oh, so sad. You suck. I'm better than you. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to pull my hand all the way down, but I'm going to wash it afterwards. Because I don't know where you've been. Or you can look at that homeless person and see them as God. And so you give the money, not out of pity, but out of love. Because you understand that they are the same one life as you are. And you think that those poor souls who are getting massacred in some other part of the world that you've never been to, we look down upon them in pity and say, oh, isn't that too bad that that's happening to them? And it's sad, and it makes us angry, but they have rewards and riches that you do not know of. And so we have to become unblinded by our hearts, our morality. And we need the mind to bring forth wisdom to balance us out. Here's what I mean. Little Bodie's back after a 3-day binge. Yeah, he's got a problem. What can I say? Let me explain further. There is a poverty in richness, and there is a richness in poverty. And what this means is that, well, a lot of people who are rich are the most impoverished because they're a slave to money. They're attached to it. And this cuts them off from their deep inner wisdom, their connection to God, their connection to life. That's why Jesus said, it is easier for a man to walk through a needle hole. No, that's wrong. Camel. Jesus said, it is easier for a camel to walk through the eye of a needle than it is for a man or a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. He wasn't talking bad about being rich. He was talking about when you're so attached to this world, it cuts you off from God within you. And therefore you are impoverished. Because everything of this reality is dust. That's the true nature. We live in a graveyard. Everybody's already dead. Everything is dust. That is the true nature of things. But we don't live like that. We live as if the things are the most meaningful things. So therefore we're stuck in an illusion. It's just dust. So the people who are the most rich in this life right now, all that they have done is collect bigger piles of dust. They're not better than you. In a lot of the ways, they're more impoverished than you. Because they have placed all their meaning on that which moth and rust does come and do its thing. They have stored the riches in dust. And yet, many people who are impoverished are free because they have no attachment to their worldly life. Because when life is going bad for you, you are forced to find freedom. When life is going okay, that's the place where you get screwed. Because there's no desire to seek God within you. There's no desire for freedom. You're okay with your couches and your football games on Sunday. You could have nothing in this world, but if you find the eternal within you, you have all that is. Because what is eternal does not change. It's forever. So you have to understand, we're stuck in this illusion and we're judging life. And the judgment is just wrong. You see a lot of people complain about famous rich people who go down like this downward spiral and have a lot of problems in their life. And they say, well, you got all this money. Why are you feeling bad? Why are you thinking this way? Why are you doing drugs? Thinking that money is the answer to something. Thinking that it makes a difference. And it means nothing because it's dust. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and give all your stuff away. The point I'm trying to make is that just because you see a rich, successful, famous person that everybody loves, doesn't mean they're living a good life. And just because you see somebody in distress, somebody who's homeless, somebody who's starving, somebody who is mentally ill, it doesn't mean that they're living a bad life. Because the fundamental truth is that you are not this body, you are not this mind. But we'll keep it simple and just say that you are an eternal soul, incarnating in different bodies to go through life experiences, to become free. And to your soul, this one game, this one life, is not as important as the overall bigger picture. The overall bigger game that's being played. Let's say you had to go play Monopoly, and in front of you, you have 1,000,000 games left that you're going to play with your friend. And each game is fully engaging, so you're not dreading the 1,000,000. You're enjoying every game. But think about it. Would one game be all that important to you if there was 1,000,000? No, it wouldn't. For the soul, it's playing all these other games. There's more. But for us in the body, in the mind, there is only one game. Because the body only survives for this one game. And when this game is over, the body dies, and we return to our true nature. And so when you see people suffering miserably, or people go through really tragic situations, because you're sitting here watching this, and we have the luxury of philosophizing, well, what I'm going to tell you is that what matters most is the soul growth of that individual. And sometimes that means dying in a very horrible way. The soul is just fine, not having any problems. The body, the mind, yeah, it sucks. But what is a moment of suffering compared to an eternity of joy? Haven't you ever had a nightmare? And while you're in the nightmare, it's really, really bad. It's really scary. But then when you wake up from the nightmare, relief. Because it was only just a dream. So too, we are living in a very vivid dream. The soul falls asleep, you could say. And we fall into this illusion identified with the body and the mind. So we have a strong vested interest to avoid suffering and to pursue pleasure. Because, well, that is our survival mechanism. But the soul doesn't care about your desires. It doesn't care about your pain. It cares about your freedom. And it is precisely through suffering that we become free from these karmic attachments that keep us stuck in negative states of consciousness. And through the suffering, it burns off. It's like, I always love the example of, the vegans and the vegetarians. They say, well, don't eat a cow because a cow is nice. They don't want to be eaten, so it's wrong to eat them. But it's an example of being blinded by the heart. A cow does nothing but poop and eat and get milked. What a life. To sacrifice itself to sustain a human being is the most important thing it will ever do in its existence. And by preventing that sacrifice, you take away the callous purpose. You prevent it from becoming free from that karmic attachment. Now, of course, we don't want things to needlessly suffer, but the point I've been trying to make is that our heart, our empathy, blinds us from the truth. And the thing is, you can look at your own life if you have come out of some dark times. Not everybody's going to realize this. But if you pay close attention, you will see that the dark times, the difficult times, the problems, the struggles, they are what grew you the most. That is when you evolved the greatest. Your character changed for the better. And it is often the times that things are comfortable and you're happy that you experience no growth. So we have this false assumption about life and about people and about ourselves, that if only things were better, then everything would be better. And yet it's often the opposite. You look at some third world country and you say, oh, we should help them. They need help. And yet, from my perspective, oftentimes the people in the third world country are the ones that are free. And the people trying to be empathetic and trying to help are the ones who are enslaved. I don't look pity upon the starving and poor people. I look pity upon the people who think they're free, but are a slave to the material world. And this is the hypocritical nature of a lot of people. No offense, it's just the way it is. We all have blind spots. And that is, we worry about others before we've even addressed ourselves. You cannot give to this world what you do not have. So until you've taken care of your own peace, your own love, your own joy, until you're bursting, do not waste your time worrying about others. It's like you cannot save another drowning person when you are drowning yourself. Well, you're not trying to drown yourself, but you're drowning. You got to learn how to swim first. You got to learn how to live life rightly. You got to learn how to be successful. If you actually want to help anybody, the greatest gift you can give to the world is becoming the greatest version of you. And you become a beacon of light for the world still living in darkness. But if you're living in darkness, all you can do is lead people astray. Because when you go down and reach your hand to try and help them, you are at the same time giving off this pitiful energy. You're projecting on them subconsciously that they are a victim and you are the helper. You are the savior. So you get to feel all nice and high and mighty for being the hero, helping the poor victim. And in your attempts to do the right thing, you keep them stuck by maintaining their illusion of being a victim. Because you project that onto them. And that is why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The worst kind of evil, the most tragic, doesn't come from evil people. It comes from the good people, trying to do the right thing, living with good intentions, and accidentally causing the suffering. And the only way to truly help another suffering being is to not judge them at all. As Ram Dass would say, you find that suffering becomes grace, and you stop falling under the illusion of the senses, of this animalistic nature that we all have. Because the animalistic nature says, suffering bad, run. Bad problem, judge it. Do something about it. Something needs to be done about this. It triggers you into fight or flight and causes endless worry and rumination and overthinking and anxiety. And you cannot function effectively when you're in that state because you're living like an animal that's really desperate to survive. It's like you're seeing another member of the tribe in pain, in suffering. And so your natural tendency is to help and do something. But the only problem is that, well, now the tribe is all over the world, on the news. Your fellow human being is suffering. What are you going to do about it? Well, they're in China. Can't do anything about it. Nothing can be done. So it doesn't make any sense to focus on that for even a moment. Because there is a never-ending stream of suffering that you can focus on. And the question is, how deep do you want to go into those waters? By paying attention to the suffering and the negativity in the world, you just keep tip and toe right in, getting deeper and deeper and deeper until you're drowning in that suffering, until you're drowning in that negativity. And then what good are you to anybody? The people around you who actually need your help, well, now you're less effective, less efficient, because you've allowed the negativity in. You've allowed the worry, you've allowed the fear. And so my recommendation is that you don't worry about the suffering of the world, of others. You focus on the suffering that is right in front of you in that moment. Nothing else is important. Nothing else matters. Because everything else you can't do anything about. But you can do something about a suffering being right in front of you. So I'm not saying, well, just don't help anybody. Life will call you to serve when it is time to serve, and your presence alone will be the gift. And you don't need to get in the psychological drama of needing to help people and do things. Let me tell them, look, they're headed down a bad path. I need to really tell them, really help them, really prevent them from doing whatever. And we miss the whole point that they don't need your help. They need your presence. It's the same reason why people don't listen to advice. They don't care. Because by giving someone advice, you're at the same time trying to help them. And people don't like feeling like a victim. So they automatically reject that advice. People don't like feeling like, oh, I need help, because it makes you feel vulnerable. Even if the advice is the right information, we'll still reject it because of that energetic exchange. Helper, helped. Hero, victim. Savior, the one needing to be saved. Nobody likes to feel that way, which is why people will often do the opposite of what you tell them, just out of spite. Just to preserve whatever little free will we have. To say, no, I am in control of my life. I get to do what I want. And in a subtle way, when you try to help someone, it's almost like saying, your way of living isn't good enough. My way of living is better. Do what I say, and you will be better. And you have to be very careful if that energetic exchange is going on underneath the surface, because you will do more harm than good. It's like one of my most controversial videos was, don't help people on the spiritual path. And I wasn't saying, well, don't serve the world. I was saying, don't get caught in the psychological drama of being a helper. Because the moment you do that, you're immediately causing destruction all around you. It's like the blind leading the blind. But what happens is that when you have somebody in your life that you can actually do something about, that's suffering, you don't approach them and say, oh, let me give you some advice, let me help you. You don't judge them at all, because they're going to feel it. Especially in relationships between men and women. And men will always have trouble with this, because when the woman is struggling with something, the man automatically thinks, there's a problem. Let me do something about it. Let me solve the problem. And so logically they try to get the problem out of the woman so that they can do something about it. But the whole time they're coming from this energy of, oh, there's a threat. It needs to be eliminated. Let me help you. And the women will almost always get angry and frustrated, because the energy that the man is giving off, it's repulsive. And the guy thinks he's doing the right thing, but he just doesn't understand what's actually going on. And so the man is too stuck in his psychological drama, and that clouds his judgment. It causes him to come from the energy of problem, solve the problem, something bad, something wrong is happening right here. And so I need to eliminate it. That's the masculine drive. It's the way we do things. But she's having an emotional experience that cannot be put in words. So as the man coming from the logical, psychological drama, she's coming from an emotional feeling state. There's no communication going on. She wants to receive grounding energy that comes from presence. But the man is ungrounded, stuck in his mind, stuck in his thoughts, trying to do things, trying to help. Too much worry, too much concern, too attached to thoughts and mind stuff. And people, man, if they only realized how often we do things like this, where we try to do the right thing and then the outcome is the opposite of what we try to do. When you approach the situation from a place of presence, no psychological drama, just being there with the other person, that is actually how you help them and heal them. In the example of the man and the woman has a problem. You don't get entangled with the psychological drama of it. You just be. And your presence creates space for healing to occur. If you get caught in your mind, you're going to muddy up the situation. Two people are chaotic. Both people are dealing with a psychological trauma. Both people are chaotic, especially the woman, because that's just how women are hardwired. But when you become present, you take that chaotic energy that the woman is dealing with and you ground it, like grounding a house so the fire doesn't burn down everything from a bad electrical outlet. You take that chaotic energy from her, and that is how you heal the situation. Then she's better. She's fine. And the same thing goes with helping anybody. The more you get involved, the more you just mess things up. Get out of the equation. And the good news is, well, you don't have to do anything, but be there. Simply being present is literally the art of not doing, not thinking anything. The pure default state that we all operate at, but is covered up by these different layers of the mind. So you got just being, then you got all these other layers. And what will happen is that the more you get out of the way, the more you begin trusting that life is working through you, doing what needs to be done, because life is always taking care of life. We literally are the same one stardust manifesting through an infinite array of different forms. We are all that same one energy. We live in separation, but the truth is that we're all one. So when you stop identifying with the separate form by just being, you allow life to do its job through you. It knows exactly what that other person needs to heal, what that other person needs to change. So you don't need to think about it. You don't need to contemplate it. The right words at the right time will spontaneously flow from your lips. A long time ago, I came to this realization, and I've lived my life this way ever since. And listening to other people who are successful, they also live their life this way too. And what this means is, well, okay, there's two fundamental forces of life. There's chaos, there's order, there's in, there's out, there's yin, there's yang, there's up, there's down. I think you get the idea. Now, we can't get away with being attached to either one of these energies. They have to both be balanced. In order for our system to sustain itself in a healthy way, in order for our life to be in harmony. And so there's two areas that we have to address. There's selfishness on this side. There's selflessness on this side. Think about a star. A star just gives energy. It just gives heat with no expectations in return. Freely giving, purely selfless. And a black hole, which is the opposite of a star, it does nothing but take. It just takes in and consumes everything. Purely selfish. And well, as human beings, we are neither stars nor black holes, but both. We got both energies in us. So we have to learn how to be selfish and selfless. Take, for example, the empath and the narcissist, and why they're such a good combination. The narcissist is an imbalanced human being towards selfishness. So all they think about is me. I'm consuming. What do I get out of this? And the empath, or the codependent, is the opposite. They're all give. Oh, it doesn't matter about me. Let me give you whatever it is you want. So you have an eternal force that is always consuming, and you have an eternal force that's always giving. The selfish person gets to take and be satisfied. The selfless person gets to give and be satisfied. But obviously, as we know, it's a toxic relationship because both people are imbalanced. And you only get two choices, and that is the priority in which you value these things. So if you prioritize selflessness, which means you're just giving to others all the time, you are on the back end being selfish. As they say, one of the most selfish things you can do is to give to others. There is satisfaction in giving and love in giving, but we don't get to get rid of either of these two things. So if you're being selfless up front, there's somehow you're also being selfish. unconsciously, oftentimes. Especially if you're imbalanced towards selflessness. Too much giving. Often it's like a survival mechanism. I'm going to give to you in the hopes that you give to me because I'm lacking in love, so I'm hoping to receive love back from you. You're trying to get something out of the situation by giving. That is the selfishness. And this happens when you're imbalanced. But the way I live my life, and most successful people will always do the same, is you prioritize selfishness first, and then you give on the back end. Because here's the thing, your ability to serve and give to the world is determined by the gifts that you have. Whatever you got available for you, that is all you can give. So if you're struggling with fear and worry and concern, and your mind's going crazy and you overthink and you got negative thoughts and you got all these addictions, what good are you to other people? You can try to help all day, but two things are happening. One, you're taking your attention away from actually healing and bettering your life. And two, well, why is anybody going to listen to you? If your life isn't going well, by definition, they should not listen to you because you don't know what you're doing yet. If your life sucks, you haven't figured out how to live. That's all. You haven't figured out how to play the game of life. And this is one of those, rules. You got to value things in their proper order. So what do? You optimize yourself. That's the number one thing you focus on all the time, is your own peace, your own love, your own joy, your own abundance. That's the only thing that matters. Because until you have properly accumulated these riches, only then can you give to others the same thing. And until you do that, you're just wasting your time. And whatever little you gain from trying to serve the world prematurely, you lose in opportunity cost. Because we all have a lot of garbage to deal with. A lot of conditioning, a lot of trauma. You really think that you got the time to deal with somebody else's mess? When two people are messy, they just come together and create a bigger mess. But when one person is clean, they can clean others through their presence alone. In the same way, a deep grounded presence neutralizes chaos. You want to hear a funny story? Probably won't believe it. But for most of my life, I never for one moment really cared about other people. I never really considered how they felt. I was purely always focused on myself, being selfish. That's the only thing that I cared about, was my own self. And I remember one time, my buddy, who would always ask me for help, so it was kind of annoying, but I remember one time I got physically uncomfortable at the idea of helping. Because I could not understand, well, how does this benefit me? I was too attached to this side of the equation, and that was the source of my suffering. I knew eventually I had to come balance myself out, but there was a lot of stuff I had to work through. But if I were to have tried to deny myself and say, oh no, I just got to serve others, I got to help other people, almost like my soul would have been very pissed off, because my truth, at the time at least, was I am a selfish being. I don't care about others. And no amount of pretending heals you at all. And so what I realized, since my natural energy was already going in this direction, I used my strengths to develop my weaknesses. I put these things in the proper order. And I said, before I do care about other people, I have to love and take care of myself. Because as long as I'm not right within here, there's absolutely nothing I can do to others that will be of any great benefit. And so what happened? I continued on my spiritual journey, became free from this attachment, and naturally the desire to serve arose without me even trying. A great example is how I approach these videos. I prioritize selfishness first, selflessness second. Because to me, that's just the proper order. I create these videos to get good at speaking, to clarify my message, to make myself greater, more successful. I don't create these videos to help people, because I'm not pretending to be good which would just make me selfish on the back end. Instead, I know that the better I am, the better gift I am to the world. And helping and serving others is a natural consequence of my journey toward becoming the best. So I don't need to think for a single moment about helping anybody, because my existence alone is service. It's not a thought process. It's a being process. And that's how you can avoid paving the road to hell with good intentions. Because when you can be upfront and clear about your selfish motives, they aren't running you from the shadows. They're not pulling your strings without your awareness. But when you try too hard to help, to serve, to be a good person, you don't get rid of this. You just stop paying attention to it. Oh, I'm not selfish. I love people. I'm going to give. Give. If you ever want to know who the bad guys are in life, they are always the ones who seem too perfect, who seem too good, because everybody has darkness. And oftentimes the good guys are the people who wear the darkness on their sleeves, who are open about it, who are rough around the edges. So on the outer surface, they are selfish, bad, but within, they are good. Oftentimes, not always. And oftentimes the people who wear the mask of morality are the most wicked. Don't ever trust someone who doesn't have a dark side. Because they do, and they're hiding it. And there's a reason they're hiding it. But the people who don't hide it, they can be more trusted because it's out in the open. So you never in this life have to worry about helping anybody. You only worry about helping yourself and what will happen along this journey. And a word of advice, don't get caught in this idea of helping or not helping. During your journey, life will present to you opportunities to serve in the moment, meaning they won't be planned. You won't be thinking about it previously, but you will see when life calls you, hey, do this. And because you have been working on yourself, your presence alone will be the healing force. Not your thoughts, not your advice, not your philosophical ideas, not your knowledge. You. I rarely think about serving others. And yet serving others is most of what I do. Not because I'm making it my life's purpose to serve the world, but because the more you connect to life, the more love you have, the more peace, the more joy, the more giving is your natural state of being. So I'm not trying to be a good person. Goodness is simply what arises when you are in inner harmony. So just remember, you can't fill the cups of others unless your cup is overflowing. I am Ray, and if you're tired of dealing with your negative thoughts, overthinking, worrying, and you feel like you're losing your mind, check out Monster Mind Mastery. After years struggling with my negative thoughts, I put together a step-by-step system so that you don't have to waste years like I did wandering aimlessly. Much peace and many blessings, and remember, just be.